What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today I'll be having a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends 80 Years of Marvel Hulk and Wolverine 2-pack. Here we do have the Hulk and Wolverine in the packaging. Now this is one set I've been looking forward to for a very long time, and you guys will see why when I get it open. So what we're going to do now is take a little break, get it opened up, and we'll have a better look at Hulk and Wolverine. So stay tuned, everyone. And so here we have Wolverine and Hulk posing out of the packaging. Before we go on to the figures, let's actually have a look at their accessories. We'll start with Wolverine. Wolverine does come with 2 pairs of hands. He comes with a pair of fists with his claws intact. And then he also does come with a pair of hands without his claws. So it's really up to you if you want to have him displayed with his claws out or without. Being a Wolverine figure, I think you'd want to have his claws out. Moving on to the Hulk also does come with 2 pairs of hands. He comes with a pair of fists, which look really good on him. He comes with a pair of grasping hands, which also look really good. And then he gets a rubberized shirt that is all torn, which is a really good accessory for the Hulk. I'm glad they included that. As far as accessories go, that's all this set comes with. I don't know what more you would expect. Maybe an alternate head for each one, but that's neither here nor there. So what we're going to do now is have a closer look at each figure individually. So first we're going to have a look at Wolverine, just because he's 95% a reuse that we've seen in the past. If you have the Jim Lee Tiger Stripe Wolverine from the Apocalypse series, you pretty much know what you're in for with this figure. Now, he does have a couple new parts, and I really do mean a couple. For starters, he gets this head. Now, I'm not a fan of classic Wolverine's mask. I think it looks too much like a kitty cat rather than a Wolverine. But it was a different time for comics, and it looks okay. There's just something about this figure that looks very wrong. I wonder what looks wrong with this figure. Oh, I know. His eyes. His eyes are looking in 2 completely different directions. His left eye is looking far to the left, and his right eye is looking far to the right. Why can't they paint Wolverine's eyes looking straight? It boggles my mind. It's not a bad face sculpt, it's just painted terribly. I mean, it could be worse, but it could be much, much better. I do really love the color of this figure. I thought the Apocalypse Wave Wolverine was really good. This one is really reminiscent of the Jim Lee cartoon-inspired Wolverine. That really bright yellow with the black stripes looks so good. I really hope that the 3-pack Wolverine uses this color scheme, because that would probably replace the Tiger Stripe Wolverine in my collection. The Tiger Stripes are painted really cleanly. For the most part, you do have a little bit of an error right there, and I think we saw one right here at his trap. The shoulder pads are done pretty good. You can see they do adjust accordingly. Just remember, when you do move them, you need to readjust them just so they look like they're part of his costume and not little sleeves that look like he should be wearing a dress. Moving on to his arms, they did use the really big bulky bicep Wolverine, so I love that. It has the hair sculpted on it. Would have liked to see some paint, but that's okay. We do get this really nice blue. It's not a dark blue like we saw with the Apocalypse Wolverine. It's a lighter blue, which looks really good. You can see his claws are okay. They're not straight like you would expect them to be, but at the same time, they're not terrible. Moving on to his belt. It's a belt we have seen in the past. This is the same one that came with the brown suit Wolverine. So nothing too special. It is a floating piece, so it does get out of the way for articulation. We have that same blue trunks, which again looks really good on this figure. Really bright yellows. I do like that. Moving on to his boots, which we have seen before. It's the standard Wolverine boots. Really clean, except for that little part right there. They could have done a little bit better right there. And you can see on mine, there's a slight tear in his There's a slight tear in his ankle right here, and it is pretty noticeable. Just on the inside. It's nothing that's going to get worse over time, but it does suck when tears like that happen. So overall, this is an okay figure. It's not the reason you bought this. You're basically getting a free Wolverine with the purchase of a Hulk. Speaking of which, let's actually have a closer look at the Hulk. And so here we have a closer look at the Hulk, and this is a really gorgeous figure. I think he alone is worth the price of admission for this set. Looking at his face, this is probably the best face it could have gone with for Hulk. Maybe if they added a yelling face, it would have been a little bit better, but I really like the angry expression on Hulk. I don't have the Comic-Con Hulk to compare him with, but I did want to try to get hold of that figure. But seeing as how I have this one, I'm perfectly okay with just having the 2-pack Hulk in my collection. They did a really good job sculpting his face. You can see just how angry he looks, and he looks angry. He doesn't look like he's bored or anything. He looks like he's really angry, so that's one thing I do like about this. His hair is a separate piece, which I am happy about. It does have some texture to it with some green paint. So really loving his hair. Moving on to his body, he is a really bulking, hulking figure, and that's what I really do like. They did make the plastic out of this really bright green, and then they did shade it with some more green so you can see some of the texture. You can see right here the veins are sculpted really nicely. Having a look at his bicep, they did a really good job with his bicep. His arms are veiny, they're vascular, they're huge, it looks really good. So really do like that. The musculature on his back is also done really well. They did a really good job just sculpting this figure. I really do like the way it came out. Probably one of the top 10 Marvel Legends figures of the year, but year's still going, so we'll see how that goes. You can see he has this really big fist for smashing, so I do like that. Having a look at his torso, again, really blocky, really big. I really love the size that Hulk has. Moving on to his pants, he has the traditional purple pants that we've seen with Hulk. Don't know how jeans stretch that far, but they somehow managed to stay on. They are textured, and that does a really good job distinguishing the jeans from the smoothness of his torso. Even though it's not 100% smooth, there's some texture in his torso. You can see there's some rips right here, a rip on the knee. Now something they did interesting with his lower legs is that this is actually a separate piece. This is a rubber overlay, and this is green plastic, so I do like that. Less chance of this not coming out the way it is, and if it was painted, it wouldn't look as nice as it does. And you can actually see some of the 3D sculpting they did right here. It's not the cleanest that they've done, but oh well, what are you going to do about it? It still looks really good, and those tears are just really good, and since they're separate pieces, they do work really well. And then he has big, wide feet, so Hulk here is a pretty big, massive figure, which I am happy about. So, with that out of the way, guys, let's actually compare Wolverine and Hulk to a few other figures you may have in your collection. Here we have Wolverine posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Wolverine posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And finally, here we have Wolverine posed next to the Jim Lee inspired Apocalypse series Wolverine. Here we have Hulk posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Hulk posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. And finally, here we have Hulk posed next to a Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Wendigo. So with the comparisons out of the way, let's actually have a look at their articulation. We'll have a look at Wolverine's first, just because it's something we have seen before. His head is on a ball joint, so he can look up and down pretty well. It doesn't go too far up, and it doesn't go too far down, but he does have a hinge in the neck, which lets him look up about that far. Does look down, swivels at the neck, no problem. He has a really big chin there too. He does have a butterfly joint, which lets his arms go all the way back. They come all the way forward, which works really good. Goes all the way around. Does go all the way out. Let's see if I can get... yeah, goes out pretty far. He has a bicep swivel, which works pretty good. Double bend in the elbow, however, because his arm is so bulky, you will only get about 90 degrees. He has a swivel and hinge in the wrist. Do be careful because you might accidentally pop one of the claws out, or you might actually bend the claw, so do be careful with that. He does have an ab crunch which goes back only to about that far, but is really generous going forward. He does swivel at the waist. Legs do kick forward to about there, kick back, swivel at the thigh, double bend in the knee. Works really good there. Kind of bulky for a little guy. Swivel at his boot. Has a hinge in the ankle which goes back that far. Goes that far forward. And then forward facing pin for rocker ankle. So Wolverine is a standard that we've seen in the past. Let's actually move on to the Hulk. Now Hulk here does have a double ball joint in the head. So he can look up a little bit. Can look down quite a bit. Can tilt his head side to side, which works really good. Swivels, although his head, well, he's not his head, but his triceps are so big he can't get all the way around. And if you do go all the way around, it's at an offset angle. Hulk does have a butterfly in the joint, but we don't get any forward movement, which is a little bit unfortunate. But we get a lot of backwards movement, so that's pretty impressive. His arm does go all the way around, no issue there. Does swivel at the bicep, although the bicep is just a floating piece. He does have a bend and swivel here at the elbow, and that works pretty good. He does have a hinge in the wrist, which goes forward and back, and then we do get rotation. He does have an abdomen crunch right here, which goes forward quite a bit. He's pretty flexible for a big guy. Goes back only to about that far. Does move to the side, to the other side. Very little rotation, but we do have rotation here at the waist. Legs do kick forward to about there. Could be a little bit better, but that's pretty good, seeing as how big he is. Don't really go back too far. Almost the full splits. Why can't Spider-Man do this? That's so surprising. We do have rotation here at the thigh. We have a double bend here at the knee. Kind of stiff, but it is a double joint. Works really good. No swivel, unfortunately, but we do get a hinge in his ankle, which goes back about that far. Goes forward only to about that far. And a really gracious rocker ankle. So overall, Hulk is a pretty good figure, and Wolverine is something we have seen in the past. So what we're going to do now is get him posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the 80th anniversary Hulk and Wolverine posed for my final thoughts, and overall, you're getting this set for the Hulk. I'm not really a fan of Kitty Cat Wolverine. The face on him looks really, really bad. Hasbro dropped the ball on him, especially with mine, seeing as how his eyes are looking in two different directions. That is really terrible. Wolverine here is something we have seen already, but this Hulk is such a nice figure. If you're unable to get the Comic-Con Hulk, I think this is a much superior Hulk in my opinion, seeing as how he does come with alternate hands and that torn t-shirt, which makes him such a good display piece. Now, if you are looking for this set, it is starting to hit stores now. I have seen the price tag at Walmart and Target, although the only place I have seen it has been at GameStop and my local comic book store. If you are looking to pick up this set, it will run you about $60. And honestly, I think that's a really good pricing, as how Hulk is such a massive figure. It's easy to see how he's worth $40. Wolverine here, on the other hand, is okay, I guess, but they could have done better. This is a much improved Hulk that we've gotten in the past, and the one that I'm really happy to have in my collection. So if you can find this set, I really recommend you do so. I found this set at my local comic book store, so huge shout out to the good folks of Black Sheep Comics for getting this out to me so I can review it for you guys. With that being said, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, go check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other Marvel Legend videos. Hopefully you find them informative. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it fits in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. YouTube does not broadcast my videos, so ring that bell to be notified every time one of my videos goes up. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.